Yeah,
Some
okay.
people don't like names.
So this one says, can you explain about the importance of offering our food and distributing prasadam?
Okay, that's all. Just we're gonna do one at a time. Yeah.
Well, because they're kind of different.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I'm cool
Yeah.
with that. Cool with that. The importance of offering food. Well, we may as well go to the good book, huh? You want the Sanskrit? Want me to try to do that? Yagya shasastani santo muchite sarvakil visha bunjite te gam papa. Papa, everybody knows that word, sin, right? Ye prachanti atma karanat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifices. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment barely eat only sin. I use the slow pause sentence there, the last part of the sentence. Kirk can help me understand what the last part of a sentence is someday, where the apostrophe comes towards the end. I guess it's a long adjective or something. So anyway, the idea here is that the devotees of the Lord, because they're called shantas in the purport, it describes that they're called shantas, they're devotees of the Lord, and they have a compact. Prabhupada used, I think he used, yeah, there's the word compact. In other words, they have a contract of a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, known as Govinda or Mukunda. I'm just looking at the purport now. And it describes that they cannot accept anything without first offering it to the Supreme Lord. And therefore, the devotee always performs yagyas or sacrifices in the different modes of devotional service, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Archanam. That means hearing and chanting, Smaranam, remembering, Archanam, worshiping. And it keeps them aloof from all kinds of sinful contaminations in the material world. And then Prabhupada goes on to describe that others who prepare food for self or sense gratification are not only thieves, but are also eaters of all kinds of things. How can a person be happy if he's both a thief and sinful? It's not possible. So how are they thieves? In other words, it's just like if you go to someone's house and they offer something to you and you don't say thank you, you're being discourteous. And so everything in this material world comes from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhava, that everything material and spiritual emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so everything that we have, every material energy, anything in material energy, be it foodstuffs or heat and light and breeze. Actually, in one purport probably says we need breeze. We can't live without breeze. And ever since I read that purport about 30, 40 years ago, if I go out on a calm day, it's like, oh man, it's hard to live like this because there's no breeze. Got it in my head, right? And so the idea is like that without Krishna being connected. So there's different, I'd like to clarify that there's different ways to make this offering. And that is, it's from a church. I got my sign here, slow down, but I have so many stories in my life. Actually, I was with Padma and Darasha yesterday, and I was telling them a few stories, and they say, Mars, you got to write a book. This is like too much. I said, yeah, but the chronological historical dates are they're just scattered. It's just like scattered. It's like Kitchery up there. I don't have dates and stuff like that. And so Brahmatirtha was in graduate school at Rutgers. I think it was Rutgers. He was in graduate school, and he was a devotee. I don't know if he had already been initiated yet or not. He was in graduate school. He'd been in Mayapur with Prabhupada, the famous book, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. And so he invited the devotees to come there, and they're in the student union. And right in the middle of the student union, this is back in the early 70s, mid to early 70s, So the devotee takes out a picture of the Parampara, takes out a picture of the Panchatattva, takes out a picture of Radha and Krishna, takes out an offering plate, takes out an arti plate, everything. So right in the middle of the student union, of course, back then you probably wouldn't seem too odd. But anyway, on the floor in the student union, ringing the bell, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, and then after he's done, taking out his Brahmin thread and chanting the Gayatri mantra to offer the food, and then waiting, and then afterwards doing an incense and a flower and a lamp and whatever to the deities. And that's what we do at the temple, and that's what Radha Kalachansis here get, and those who are in different temples. There is a process for offering to the Lord, but there's also another process for like when you're at your home. You can do the same way at home. It's nice to do it as, what would you say, professionally, is that a word? In other words, according to scripture, like they would at the temple. If you can do that, that's great at home. If you're at the office and you have to eat outside for some reason, you can say a silent prayer to Krishna, saying, this situation that I'm in with my, like Brahmacharya says, baked potato and salad, where that's the only thing that he can eat when he's on a business trip. And the baked potato is getting a little bit too much for him too, And also just like when I'm at my family's house, I just, I don't do the full thing. I just silently chant Rtadhavaja Tendriyate He Kalji Revale Visaya Sagare. Because in the Perfection of Yoga, there's a small book, Perfection of Yoga, which is on the 6th chapter, I believe. I just read it, so I should know. Actually, I read it when I flew from Florida to here to come for Kirtan 50. I read the whole book on there. It was really enlivening. I just couldn't fall asleep. So it says in that book that one can offer prasadam by reciting this prayer. Oh Lord, this material body is a lump of ignorance, and the senses are a network of paths leading to death. Some other, I found this ocean of material sense gratification. And of all the senses, the tongue is most gracious and difficult to control. Very powerful prayer. But you, Lord Krishna, are so kind, you sent this wonderful prasadam, spiritual food, just to help us conquer the voracious tongue. And now let us honor this prasadam, not eat, but honor the prasadam to our full satisfaction. And doing so, glorify their lordship, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. And in love, cry out for the help of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. So that's one way. So according to time, place, and circumstance, in other words, we shouldn't skip doing something out of, wanting to do something else. But, when it calls for it, then we can do those kind of things. But everything should be offered in one way or another. Otherwise, we're a thief, because it actually belongs to Krishna. I was just reading, where was it? It must be, because I just finished the Bhagavatam and I'm reading the CC, so it's just kind of like I get mixed up where I'm at. And it's described that when one worships the sun, they take a ghee lamp and then they offer fire to the sun. Well, the sun is the source of all fire in this world. According to the Bhagavatam, the sun is any heat, like anything that has light is due to the sun. And but yet we offer that back to the sun. Or like when you go to India and you go in the Ganges, people, first of all, everybody offers obeisances to the Ganges, and they sprinkle a little water on their head, then they go in the river, and then they take a cup full of water and they offer the cup full of water back into the Ganges as an offering, so that we don't forget the spiritual meaning of our purpose for being bathing in the Ganges, or of course, we don't worship the sun, but honoring prasadam. I always try to say honor prasadam. I don't think I rarely say eat. I just usually say honor, because I want to keep that type of consciousness in my head that I'm actually honoring, because it's actually Krishna. Prasadam is actually Krishna. And then there's another purport in here where I got to slow down, because I'll probably get the whole hour in one question. There's another purport where Srila Prabhupada says that by chanting Hare Krishna and taking prasadam, it's like, I don't know if you believe in vaccinations or not, whatever. But Prabhupada says it's like it's like an inoculation, and it protects one from the virus, not COVID, but the virus of material. There's material energy. And material energy is actually like a very heavy virus, which I mentioned like when first COVID first came out on my WhatsApp Japa group, that we have to also be careful of this material desire virus. And so Prabhupada says it's like a vaccination, inoculation. In other words, it protects us. So if we're only eating Krishna prasadam, then we're protected. We have a little bit of protection. We need all the protection we can get. Actually, we should be praying for as much protection as we can get from skipping or slipping from the practices of Krishna consciousness. So that's the importance of offering prasadam and honoring prasadam. Is that the whole question? Just those 2 points? Offering and honoring prasad?
Yeah, just that first one. Here's a he won't mind I say his name. Kurt says, Guru Maharaj, if you write your memoirs, I will edit them.
Okay. we just have to get Kurt to figure out what year it was.
He can do that. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the second question. How can the community maintain closeness during COVID and lockdown?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like our little group here in Dallas, we have a little group. It's called our Japa Walk group. And then we have another one. We have our Japa Heaven group. And then I have the young men's group, and then their wives group, and everybody's included. So just like today is Kapil's birthday. Everybody knows Kapil, send him a happy birthday note. And tradition has it that in the summer trip, when somebody's birthday, that we line up all the boys in 2 rows, and the person has to crawl down the between the 2 rows, and they get to hit them as much as they want. So I sent out a little note today, windmill. Then a few minutes later, I send out, everybody bring at least a 2-meter stick. And then I sent like emojis of a hockey stick. I think it was, I don't even know what other kind of stick. I think what do they call that game? Lacrosse stick, and a broom, like a broom. And then somebody said, I'll bring the mask. Somebody said, I'll bring the hand sanitizer. So we had like a really joyful like exchange, like really joyful exchange with all the boys. And there was one devotee that was like totally into Spider-Man when he was a kid. And so I saw this little thing, something came on my computer, and it was like some guy driving down the road in a car. What color? I don't know what color Spider-Man is. I think he's red and maybe green, red and green or something like that. And it's red and whatever it is. And so his car is all decked out, and the guy's inside and he's got a complete Spider-Man suit on. So then I sent the whole thing that here's such and such out driving his car, and out everybody, and then the person said, yes, I'm guilty. And so we're having like, I guess I could say a little bit of frivolous, but a little bit of with type chill or relaxed conversations. And then we're also having in-depth discussions, because a lot of them, not a lot, but several of them ended up getting infected by the COVID virus due to, simple errors. This is why I made that recording the other day, because it just takes a little simple mistake, a little simple error, and we can get infected. We can get infected. Luckily, most of them aren't being severely affected by it, affected by that. And so we're staying in contact. And I'm sending out, just like yesterday and today. Yesterday I sent out little notes to some of my old friends in Alachua. Today I sent out more. And everybody, oh, thank you for coming, thank you for thinking of me, and thank you this, and thank you that. And so that's how we do it. This is just like right now, I'd be in San Antonio, maybe if I could handle the drive, but this is so much easier. I just sit in my chair here in Dallas. And so we have such a wonderful facility. And so social media is there, and the phone is there. And if you're in an area, you can visit people, by social distancing. You just have to. I was joking with my host Padma and Darasha yesterday because it became very clear that we all had to, because our person that was staying had come in contact with us here, had contacted or contracted, or whatever the word is, COVID. And so I said, I'm gonna get a 12-foot hula hoop with a cap with strings, and wherever I'm gonna walk, and I'm gonna have 6 feet around me, all the way around and I'm gonna walk, and so nobody can get close to me. And then the other day, somebody gave me a I don't know if it was a TikTok. I know who it was that sent it to me, but I'm not going to say the person's name. But they had a skunk on a leash, and it said social distancing, and what do they call that? Companion animal? What do they call those things? What do they call that? Companion animal? They have a word for that?
Oh, emotional support.
Yeah, emotional. It said social distancing and emotional support animal. So I took that one and I posted it to everybody, and I said I'm training it to walk backwards just in case. Because I don't want to be at the backside of the skunk, because if he's going to spray somebody, so I was training him how to walk backwards. And so we can social distance. We can visit social distancing. Just follow the rules. Don't minimize the rules. At the same time, just use the facilities that we have. As it's a wonderful discussion, with Burjan the other day, and Gary Darius, somebody calls me every day, sometimes not on the weekends because he has like a lot of classes in China and Hong Kong. I just spoke to B.B. Govindamaraj the other day, gave me a full report. It's just like all my friends, I'm talking to them as much as I would if I was practically, in one sense, more than, because, than if we all weren't stuck in one place. I mean, I know, sometimes they have to change their phone numbers. They usually keep their WhatsApp numbers. And, but you don't know where they're at. You don't want to like ring them up when it's like 2 o'clock in Moscow and you think they're in, New York, and it's and stuff like that. So anyway, we're having quite a wonderful experience here. I mean, outside of the fact that I can fast. I've given this analogy so many times, you guys are probably getting worn out from it, but I can fast any day of the year. I wake up in Janmashtami hungry, because I have to fast on Janmashtami. So the fact that I can't go out makes me want to think, why can't I go out? Why can't I? I'm like a little stubborn 3-year-old kid that doesn't want to be disciplined by his parents. So to utilize it. We still have plenty of opportunity. And the thing is that if you reach out to somebody, they'll be so happy. And my experience is everybody's so happy that you reach out to them. And then you feel happy because you did something, you enlivened somebody's life. You gave somebody a little bit of purpose,
Okay. So question number 3. How do we become strict in Krishna consciousness without putting too much pressure on ourselves and becoming overwhelmed?
Good luck. It's just like, okay, let's just take, for example, Prabhupada would say that he gives the example of a diseased person. Diseased person is in the hospital. Of course, nowadays, like when you're sick, you have to take certain kinds of medicines. Prabhupada would always say bitter medicines. I guess he was taking Ayurvedic medicines most of his life, so many of them are very bitter. And so you have to take bitter medicine, and you have to restrict your diet. And still you want to have those things. You don't want to have to take the medicine, right? Because it's bitter, and you don't want to have to restrict your diet. Yet you do it because you have knowledge that this is going to make me well. And therefore you joyfully perform, not joyfully, but what would you say? What's a good word? Like you embrace it, knowing that you're able to embrace it and appreciate it. There's a word. At least you can appreciate the restrictions, because you know that they're going to lead you to a healthy condition. And so in the same way, how do we follow the practices of Krishna consciousness without making them so difficult? Number one, Prabhupada would always say, what is the difficulty? Some people say, problem in my mind. He says, what is the mind? What is the difficulty? For him, it was just like, what do you I mean, and so in the same way, and then we have to take an honest look. I always use this word, honest look at the heart, and know that there's a saying, one man's food is another man's poison. And so to artificially stay, we can get into the Varna ashram, in other words, the brahmachari, brahmacharini, grihastha, vanaprastha, like this. And so if one needs a companion, then there's ways to perform devotional service in another ashram. Just change ashrams, and from brahmachari to grihastha is a step up. It's not a step down, it's a step up. If it's there, if you're doing it and you're actually practicing it properly, it's a step up for advancing in Krishna consciousness. And so don't artificially, it's kind of hard to say artificially perform extra or different austerities or penances or practices is an easier word, right? Kind of keep all the words gentle practices for Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, we have to have an honest heart. In other words, know where we're at and proceed within the boundaries that are set by the Varna and Ashram system. Because Varna and Ashram system is meant to civilize human beings. It's actually meant to create a civilized society, and it's a launching pad for achieving prema bhakti. And so the way I guess that was kind of a long, drawn out again answer, but I mean, take a look and see, what your material desires are, and have you ever engaged in those material desires or not followed those particular things and actually achieved the sense of happiness that you thought that they were going to bring? Do they actually satisfy the heart? Are they, or is it just again monogatim, that the chariot of the mind? Is it just a chariot of the mind telling you you're going to be happy here, and then for a few moments you think you're happy, but then it's gone, and then again another one comes up, and another one comes up, and another one comes up. And so we have to be aware of the situation. Awareness was the first thing you learn in martial arts. Know where you're at and know your surroundings, so that you're always. It's not like you're walking around alert to be, you're going to get jumped at any moment, but you're always aware of your situation. So the devotee always has to be aware that the nature of the material energy is very stringent, that the laws of material energy are very stringent, is the word that Prabhupada uses. In other words, he gives the example, if an adult puts his hand on fire, he gets burned. Even if he has knowledge, it's going to get burned. But a little child, he puts his hand on the fire, he also gets burned. Although the child seems to be an innocent person, that there should be some kind of, like a one-time warning where it just warms up a little bit, but that's not how the stringent laws of material nature work. So I guess I'll read my sign here one more. Okay, slow down right there, and then. Actually, the regulative principle in the Gita is described as the regulative principles of freedom. And the second chapter, right after, it comes after those verses 62 and 63, by contemplating the objects of the senses, one desires, the desire, becomes, lusty and angry and bewildered and stuff like that. And so one Prabhupada explained, our Krishna explains that one who can follow the regulative principles of freedom. And so these regulative principles of freedom aren't just our four regs. They're all the different little things that we're meant to do throughout the day. In other words, how we operate our life. And several places in the purports to the Gita, Prabhupada says, one molds his life in such a way that he can always remember Krishna. And so we have our life surrounded, in other words, our consciousness and our awareness surrounded by the understanding that I am a servant of Krishna. The Christians do this when they go out. They say they have this thing that they identify internally as a Christian, and therefore wherever they're at, they know that they have a relationship with Christ, and they protect themselves that way. I've read this several years ago on the Christian, broadcast, or whatever you want to call the lecture and stuff like that. And so in the same way, a devotee always, understands himself to be a Vaishnava, a devotee of the Lord, and an eternal servant of the Lord, and that everything is meant to be utilized in Krishna's service. So a very, very protective type of life, and joyful type of life, because as it's described before in that verse about Prashadam, if you're a thief and sinful, you can't be happy.
Okay. This is the last question that I got sent advance. So it says, the other day, I guess this was last Sunday, I think you made a beautiful analogy between Krishna's response to Krishna's response to our efforts with chanting and Mother Yashoda's attempt to bind him. Would you mind explaining that in detail?
I think that was on one of my WhatsApp messages, Japa messages. It was just a few days. Maybe I gave that in the class and utilize it later on in the week for my WhatsApp messages. We all know the story of Damodar Leela. I think everyone knows the Damodar Leela. Krishna was sleeping, and Mother Yashoda was boiling milk, and at the same time churning the what do you call it, the yogurt. And Krishna woke up, and so Mother Yashoda went there to take care of him. And so she brought Krishna out, and then was nursing Krishna, and then the milk began to boil. Starts to boil over. So it's like, so she put Krishna down to go take care of the milk. So Mother Yashoda is always serving Krishna. So when she was nursing Krishna, when she was churning yogurt, she was churning yogurt for Krishna and watching him sleep there. Actually, she was like, in paternal bhav or paternal prema, paternal love with Krishna, just looking at him sleeping. I don't know. I've never. I guess if you had a child, you could understand, like, just watching your baby sleep. I know three of my boys just had babies. Their wives had babies; they didn't have babies, but and they're sending me all these pictures, and every time they send me a picture, the baby's sleeping. That's all they do when they're first born, and so they're seeing all these sleeping baby pictures and stuff. So I can imagine her just sitting there looking at it, and the baby's cooing and this thing and that, and so. My Mother Yashoda was like that. And so what happened is that she's putting the child down to go serve Krishna to protect the milk from boiling over. It's not that she's giving up Krishna. She's not giving up her service to Krishna. She's just adjusting her service from nursing Krishna to this. But Krishna didn't like that. He said, "Why are you putting me down? I wasn't finished eating." And so Krishna, he begins to destroy the yogurt and the butter, and he starts, what would you say, grading the yogurt and butter, saying this is third class, and started feeding it to the monkeys, and was hiding in a shed. You all know this story. He's hiding in the shed, and it's described that his eyes are like going back and forth because he knows he's going to get caught. And in the commentaries from the acharyas, it says that a thief has 100 eyes and a householder has 2. A thief has 100 eyes where a householder only has 2. So Krishna's eyes were going everywhere, where the person, because they're always aware of the fact that they're going to get caught. And so as soon as Krishna heard his mother coming, and he knew somehow or another, of course, Krishna knew she had a stick, and so Krishna actually, she picked up the stick when she saw Krishna, and she starts chasing him. No one can catch God. It's described in the Vedas that the yogis are trying to, the speed of the mind. I don't know, the speed of light is something, but I don't know. I would assume the mind is quicker than light, because the speed of the mind, the yogis are traveling and trying to catch God or catch the Lord, but they can't do it. But here's Mother Yashoda chasing Krishna, and Krishna changes. There's different bhavs or different relationships or different modes, which Krishna manifest. And so his compassion, he was upset, but then his compassion mode came out where he felt compassion for his mother, and he had to surrender because he saw his mother perspiring and her hair was falling out and the flowers in her hair are falling out and this and that. So Krishna had this, he had the love that Yashoda had for him, the parental love that she had for him, and the endeavor she was making to serve him stimulated his mercy mode. And so these two things, endeavor and mercy, go together. That's why the rope, when she went to tie him up, was 2 fingers too short. One is endeavor and the other one is mercy. I think everyone knows this Leela quite well. And so the analogy I was given in the chanting, was it for the chanting, which is discussing, in the chant, how to relate the two for the chanting? Or just the Leela. Your mic is off. Your mic went off.
Yes, it was in regards to chanting. So Krishna's response to our efforts with chanting. So tie those two things together, I guess.
Yeah. So the same way. So in the same way, when we put effort out to chant, I don't know if this person receives our Japa WhatsApp group or not, but in there we explained that when the devotee goes to what we call in sports the extra yard, or makes the extra effort in trying to perform their japa meditation, when we actually put effort into controlling the mind, put effort into disassociating with things that will distract us, arranging the place that we chant in such a way that we're able to have a undistracted area to do it, have a plan for when to do it so that we know that we will be able to do it, planning ahead and showing Krishna our great interest in this makes Krishna interested in us. In other words, seeing. And especially, I think that this was from Satsvarup Maharaj's very old book, Japa Reform Notebook. I think it was in the early 80s or something like that, where he says that Krishna reciprocates with this type of endeavor, with the endeavor of the devotees. I use the word endeavor. I think struggle was one of the words I read in the past for that, struggle, a lot of people don't like to hear, if I tell you you have to endeavor, that's one thing, because endeavor means you're going to get some kind of positive result. Struggle means you're trapped and you can't get out and there's no hope. So I like to use appropriate, positive words and stuff like that. So if we make a concerted effort to allow ourselves the privilege, I always use the word privilege, to have the great fortune to chant the holy names in a way which is meaningful, not only to ourselves, but meaningful in the sense that we're able to follow the direction of the Guru Parampara, which is the method by which one receives the mantra. One receives the mantra through the Guru Parampara. And unless one hears the mantra through the Guru Parampara, it doesn't have the same potency. The potency is coming from Krishna through the Guru Parampara. And therefore, when we serve the holy name in such a way, then the holy name will definitely reciprocate. It will reciprocate with the practitioner. And so that's the relationship. I just made the analogy because nobody can capture Krishna. Yashoda Mai, that's a nice name actually. Yashoda Mai actually was able to capture Krishna because of her love and her endeavor to serve Krishna. In the same way, we'll be able to capture Krishna with our when our endeavor is grows and our desire to be with Krishna and our desire to chant the holy name properly, Krishna will reciprocate with that, and it's based on mercy. Mercy doesn't have to be given. It doesn't, mercy can be or not be, but Krishna is not. He's very merciful, and it's described in, as I said, it's described that in the commentary. I don't read the commentaries, but my friends do, and so they tell me about it. So it's like a lot of words and stuff like that. So so in the commentary, it describes that it's that endeavor, and that Krishna, he's purchased by that bhakti. Krishna, that's why bhakti is so hard to get. It's so hard to get bhakti, because bhakti is like the currency by which you can buy it, by which you can purchase Krishna. Kind of, I don't know if the word purchase seems a little weird. In other words, but that's the word that I think is used in by bhakti to know that if the holy name is available, somehow or another, beg, borrow, or steal, somehow or another, just get that holy name or something like that. And so in the same way, this bhakti, once one gets it, just like Krishna, he protects it. In the first 6 chapters, it's protected by karma yoga. In the last 6 chapters, it's protected by jnana yoga. And in the middle, you get this bhakti yoga. And it's the essence, of devotional service. So and Krishna protects that bhakti because he knows that it's only available, it's only available for those who have acquired, what is the word? A selfless desire to serve Krishna. And I'm trying to think of the actual word, but purport would be selfless desire to serve Krishna. In other words, everything for Krishna, and whatever I have to sacrifice, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I remember doing it. I don't remember exactly if I gave it at the class or if I just part of the japa thing.
Okay, I got another question via the chat.
Okay.
Let me pull it up.
Dini's here. Hare Krishna, Dini.
It says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, with COVID restrictions, not getting darshan, missing out on classes, no to little association, etc., basic sadhana feels difficult and definitely inadequate. In so many ways, it feels like I'm slipping and that it's harder to hang on to the path and that I'm doing the bare minimum. Any guidance or tips to keep the engagement and relationship?
Yeah. But there's 2 things. There's Vani and Vapu. I'm going to just kind of take it into a different direction. Vani is instruction, the word, and Vapu is physical proximity. And this is like in relationship to Guru. You want to have the physical proximity. You want to be next to the Guru, side by side, cooking for them, ironing his clothes, or whatever it may be, and somehow or another assisting. But the Vani is the most important. The instructions are the most important. And so we can kind of utilize that analogy or that principle. It's not an analogy, it's a principle, that Vani, because the spiritual master may not always be in the same vicinity as someone. They may, like myself, I was at Prabhupada maybe a total of like 50 hours of my life. At most, I don't even know how many hours it was. It was just in Mayapur during the festival. And, but, oh man, there's that spider that's biting me. Oh man, okay. I see him. Oh, that might be an ant. Okay. I got about 10 bites, and they just hide during the day and they come out and get me at night. So anyway, the physical proximity for myself with Srila Prabhupada was not there, but my first encounter with him was through his words. My first encounter with Srila Prabhupada was through his words. And it continued to be like that for the last 45 plus years. Yeah, 45 years now. And so in the same way, the deities are there and we want to go see the deities. And we're thinking that, and you know, I mean, the deities are right there. I have the seniority or the backdoor key where I could tell Nityananda, I want to sneak in the back door and see Radha Kalachandji, but I don't do it because then other people would want to do it. They think, Maharaj gets to go, why can't I go? And they'd say, well, he's got the Maharaj card. As the Guru Guru boys used to say, we got the Maharaj card, But I won't do that because it wouldn't. I don't want to cause disturbance to somebody else. So I take darshan. I have a picture of Radha Kalachandji on my desk, and every day, and Chirag sends me a very nice little. It's like a video. I don't know. It's like a video where you see Prabhupada, and then you see the small Gauranitai, then you see individually Gaur and Nitai, and individually the bigger Gaur and Nitai, and then Radha Gary died, and Gary Raj, and then Radha Nilama, and it goes on. You have a choice: the 1 minute version or the 2 or 3 minute version, and you can see the deities every day. I asked Nityananda Prabhu here in Dallas. I said we should do something and send out like that too, and he says it's on our Facebook page, and so we can go and see how the deities are painted every day on the Facebook page. Association, again, just like I was saying on the other case, and the other question which is similar. We can get as much association as we want. I mean, you may want to call up some big guns, as Prabhupada uses a word in the purport to the Bhagavad Gita, the big guns. May want some big guns association. Said the other day, somebody wrote me a note, you have His Holiness Bhakti True Swami's email. And I was thinking, why? I mean, he's in ICU in Orlando because he's got COVID-19 and he got a severe case because he's in his 70s. He already had heart problems. And I don't think he's answering emails right now. And I didn't think I had the email address. So I said, I don't really have the email address. But then I was in the B section of my address book and I saw that I did have his address. So I will send it to the person. I didn't even know I had it in there because we would just meet whenever we crossed paths in our travels, which was several times a year. We'd have wonderful exchanges. And so the idea is that we can get association and we just have to be eager. We have to be eager to have that association. And by our eagerness, we can get it. And you can open up your heart to your close confidence in your area or within your arena, within your what would you say, is the word arena? Yeah, of people. Hi, Ravi. People. Hare Krishna, Ravi. Hare Krishna. You better turn your microphone off, okay? And open your heart and just say, I'm really finding it difficult. What can we do? Can we set up a time? Just like one of my friends has an old straight edge friend that he actually was a brahmachari for a while, but then he went on and became something for the National Library where where you read the books. So there's audio books and stuff like that. And so him and one of the sannyasis during the straight edge days told my friend that you're in charge of him for the rest of his life. And so they get together 3 times a week during COVID and they read the scriptures together. And he's like the guy that does it for the National Library. So it's like really in the first they have a little chit chat for the first 20, 30 minutes. And then they start their reading for an hour and a half, 2 or 3 times a week. And they're really getting enlivened. They're really having an enlivening experience. And this friend of mine is arranging his life where he's getting all kinds of association like that. You're getting all kinds of association. And just because he's my friend and because I feel the intensity of his eagerness to want to talk or to associate and ask questions and to hear about Krishna and Prabhupada and whatever, I call him weekly. I mean, just because I just know he wants to hear from, I mean, it's kind of like if I didn't feel it, then I would, and, so I guess the idea is by our eagerness. In 1968, Srila Prabhupada gave a class in Seattle, and I think I clicked on it on my computer because I have all Prabhupada's lectures on my computer, and it said Seattle at 68, and I thought, oh, finally I found that lecture. I wanted to hear the exact words, and then I clicked on it, and I went to a lecture in LA. I couldn't figure out why it was mislabeled, So anyway, the gist of the class was somebody asked Prabhupada, how do we become pure devotees? I think is what the question was. And Prabhupada says, by your eagerness, akuti, just like Dinabandhu's, Prabhu's wife, Dinabandhu, the one that takes everybody on Parakram in India. His wife's name is Akuti, and she's one of the most, I mean, it's a perfect name for her. She's like one of the most eager persons to do any and every, you just say A to Z in devotional service, or double A to double Z, or triple A to triple Z. She'll do everything and anything. She's always engaged in service. I've never, practically, if you had a dozen Akutis in this world, we'd have it, the world would already be ours. And and so Prabhupada said, by your eagerness to associate, by your eagerness to serve Krishna, and so by your eagerness to have association, you'll get us. In other words, if you put out the effort, then people will recognize this person's looking for association. And therefore you want to give association. That's one of the principles, Tadati Pratigranati, that devotees associate together, exchange prasad, reveal their minds, and exchange gifts. And so, yeah, in other words, hey, Parth, hi, and Dharani, oh my gosh, Dharani. Oh, look at here, Dharani, look what's happening to my heart, Dharani. Whoa, Parth. You're getting so big, unbelievable. So anyway, that's the, just the other day I was thinking of FaceTiming you, Parampara, just so I could see the kids, and now Krishna knew it. Krishna knew I wanted to see those kids, It's like amazing. All you have to do is have a desire, and then Krishna just fix it, pull it in. It's like amazing. So if it's like by our eagerness, by our if we intentionally do something to make an effort to have association, we'll get that association. Krishna will make arrangements, but we have to try. We have to put the energy in. And then what happens is by that association, there's a statement, and I have my computer, but I don't want to go into my so-called filing system on my Outlook because I probably get lost. There's one purport where Srila Prabhupada explains that when one has a spiritual master, the regulative principles become easier to follow. In other words, when one makes a commitment to Guru and the Parampara, when one has Guru, he's actually connected to the whole Parampara that goes all the way up to Krishna. And so by having a bona fide spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada explains that the regulative principles become easier to follow. In other words, the principles or the aspects of devotional life are, you want to do them because yasya prasada bhagavat prasada yasya prasada nanagit katopi, that by pleasing the spiritual master, one pleases Krishna. And by pleasing Krishna, one pleases the spiritual master. It's a reciprocal thing. And so, we want to do that through the parampara, and this is our system, and it's what would you say, it works. And if we what would you say, push the button, you put the money in and then you push the button and the product comes out. And so it's not quite like put the money in, push the button, and I guess that's not a very good analogy, but in other words, if we do what we're supposed to do, then it actually happens. And so that ability, and here, for a long time, due to health reasons, it's been difficult for me to attend the morning program. I was actually told by doctors not to attend the program, but every morning I wake up and I brush my teeth and I sing the whole morning program. I do the whole morning program from the Mongol Arctic song to the Shinga song to the Tulsi song to the Guru Puja song every single day. And it's not and when I sing it, it's if anybody was recording it, they would pad the walls in my room because I really get into it. I imitate Radhanath Maharaj, I imitate Govinda Maharaj, I imitate some different people, and my voice is a little froggy, and so I'm in there laughing at the same time I'm doing it, and so and actually. Several times I did try to go to the morning program, but they have the public address system, I guess they just call it PA system, on so loud. There's only like 3 or 4 people in there, and each one of them, they have the biggest drum and the biggest cartels and the biggest whompers, and I can't even be in the room, dude. And it's like, so when I'm singing the Mongol Arctic prayers myself and Tulsi prayers and Shingadev prayers, I'm totally absorbed. Everybody likes to hear their own voice, right? Rather than some cartel. I remember in the 70s, there was this guy that he used to play the gong. And if you weren't dancing, he'd take that big mallet and he'd stick you in the gut, dance, dance. And he'd bang the gong by your ear. And so I'm finding it much more rewarding not to have that, that mallet being whacked on my stomach and the gong being probably why I'm half deaf. And so as you can see, I just thinking about doing the morning program myself, I'm getting quite inspired. And so I pray that you're able, who's ever asking the question, by getting some association via whatever method we described today, that you're able to do that and just really sing out, just do the whole morning program. Just get up, and do the morning program. Read, and the cool thing is that if you want to associate with Prabhupada, just open any book. And some people say, "Oh, we didn't get Prabhupada's association. You had Prabhupada's association." The association I had with Prabhupada was like me looking over, 30 feet away. And not even be able to go like this, like, "Oh yeah, I'm here. You recognize me?" No, he wouldn't recognize it.
So Guru Maharaj, I just had someone text me who can't get into the chat, and Sarah, who is one of our people who attends here in San Antonio, she said that she's very thankful that you're on with us today. She said her husband had to go to work, and that this is really keeping her calm and helping her.
Okay.
And she also wanted to know if it's okay for her to email you.
Sure, you can just give her my email.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Let's see.
rtswami@gmail.com.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it's just like nowadays, if you have to go to work or there's a lot of people around, your better half or your lesser half, depending on which one you are, according to the Bhagavatam, may get nervous because they'll feel that you're going into almost like a war zone where you can get wounded or you can get injured, right? You have to be very, very careful. And I also say that for devotees that do temple service, don't be negligent and not wear your mask and not, there are times, and I know our pujari rooms and the altar are very small, and to stay 6 feet away may not even be possible in some places. But definitely never take off your mask. It may be a little hot, but it's a lot less hot than 106 fever or whatever, you know. And that may last for several weeks, whereas this is only a couple hours. Please be very, very careful. And if someone, I actually dedicated one of my WhatsApp Japa messages to following the protocol for COVID. And if someone's in the temple not practicing the proper protocols, fall at their feet and beg them to do it. And if they still refuse, then just call the temple police and tell them, I'm walking off here, and tell them I'm safe. I'm not going to stand here in an unsafe place. Just walk off. And call the temple authorities and say, I'm not going back on the altar until I'm protected. I'm supposed to be protected by Krishna and the Parampara, and the temple president. Our temple management is part of that Parampara. That's the way we saw our temple GBC and temple president as part of the Parampara. And I'm quite, as you can see, all of a sudden getting all tough, you know, but I'm quite adamant about that principle, because, you know, love is shown by action. And if your actions don't show care and concern and compassion for another individual that's engaged in the devotional service, then that love is artificial.
Thank you for saying that, Maharaj, because I'm about to make that phone call today.
Thank you.
So thank you for reinforcing that, because
Yeah,
I mean,
well, I've already reinforced it about 20 times for you, so you should have already made the call.
well, I already said it. People get upset when I mention it. They think that because they live in the community, they're immune to it.
Well, I tell you what, just don't, you know, just walk off. Just tell the authorities, next time I will walk off. And then you can find somebody to come in and do my service, because I can't do it. Especially, I know, I won't mention your health problems, but your lungs are not that, you know, good, you know. You have asthma and you have allergies and stuff, so you have to be extra careful. Sorry, I shouldn't have brought up that. Okay. Anything else? We're at 303, Bhagavat Rtadhavaja.
I like the point you made about love being an action. I find that one of my recent realizations, we've been doing a little bit of outreach, whatever we can do, but, you know, maintaining safe distance at times. People want to be listened to. They want to be heard. And I think that a lot of times we kind of lose balance or focus. And because we have so much information and so much realization on spiritual life, we tend to overshoot and bombard people with information and not understand where they're really coming from, or what they're struggling with materially. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate further on this idea of just listening to people, meeting them halfway, rather than kind of just bombarding them with amounts of information that may be just too much for them, and it pushes them away ultimately. Like, I feel like our outreach is a lot simpler than what we make it. It's just about being friendly. And like you said, love is an action.
Yeah, so, yeah. But just like I mentioned, somebody's phone. Okay, who was on? I just lost the thought, because I thought I heard something going on. Several things I can say on that, Bhagavan, and that is Bhagavan Rtadhavaja, excuse me, to say the whole name. They call you BND? Hope not.
Sometimes I've been called worse though, so it's
yeah. So one thing, you know, I saw a TED talk one time. I think it was some kind of professional things. People send me these things all the time, and so I send it to Brahmatirtha, my friend. He works in this type of environment, and the statement was, the person that is the least what would you say, who talks the least at a meeting, or waits, waits to speak in a meeting. Words are, when they do speak, their words are the most potent that are in the room. It's just, you say you have a group of, you have a small corporation, there's maybe 6-10 VPs in the room, and they're all having a meeting, and they're all talking, and there's a type of competition, there's a type of ego in the room and stuff like that, and the person that just sits back and just, and then when he finally speaks, they have the potency. So the idea of listening is very, very important. In other words, you listen, and then you understand each and every single person's position, and then you don't have to assume someone else's position, because we don't make assumptions. If we talk properly, we have all those, impeccable speech. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best, and don't worry what people say about you that don't have your best interests at heart. And so then you have everybody's. You don't have to make assumptions about what you're gonna about people, what you think they need to hear. You actually know now, because you sat back and listened. And so in the same way, when we're doing outreach, just like some of our devotees here on the call, when we had Occupy, what was it called? Occupy movement. And they went out to distribute prasadam, and then people said, "Oh, you're just Hare Krishna's trying to convert us." And they said, "Dude, we're just here to feed you. Don't worry, we're just here to feed you." And I think it made like 2 or 3, 4 devotees. They came just because we were just there, and they would come up and talk to us. And next thing you know, I mean, they're partially or deeply, still engaged in devotional service just because we were there and listening. And so in the same way, like right now, especially during COVID, I mean, I want everybody to I send out messages. Please review the protocol, because the tendency is that we get lax. As time goes on, we'll relax our standards. So I want everybody, I do request people to go over those things. But at the same time, it's not like we have to overdo that. And the same thing, like with the racial tension, now's not the time to say the person's, it's his karma. No, what it's time to do is to hear. And I've been doing so much research. I mean, not one of my adult friends that I asked ever knew about the Black Wall Street massacre in 1921. No, not one of them. I grew up in America. I went to every single history class, I was in sociology, I was in psychology in college. I was doing so many things. I was a Vietnam activist, and I never heard about the Wall Street massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, until after George Floyd was, unfortunately, I guess the word is murdered now. It wasn't killed, it was murdered. And so to me, it's just shocking that the things that can go on, and the systemic, and the systemic means systematic. Yeah, okay. And so the systemic actions that our government and different entities use to hold back a whole, what would you say, ethnic group, is just nauseating to me. It's actually nauseating. It's just so disturbing. And I'm the white privileged male, and I'm nauseated. What to speak of those who are in that category, how they must feel. And so for me to get a good grip, I mean, for some reason, there's all kinds of documentaries for free on Amazon Prime, and I watched them all practically. Just, I mean, and one of them was, touched on that Black Wall Street, that very influential community, and the reason why it happened is just absurd. I mean, don't get me into it. I mean, it's just like, it's just very, very, I mean, I know that we take birth in this world, we have a particular karma, the color of our skin, the gender of our body, the orientation of our whatever, all these things they're given to us because of our previous desires. But it doesn't mean that, you know, if a house is on fire, we don't try to help put it out. And Yogeshwar wrote it. I don't know if anybody gets ISKCON news or ISKCON communication news emails. If you don't, Lavangla, do you get them? Yes or no? ISKCON communication news, ISKCON news. Okay, what I can do is I can send you, when I receive it, I'll send it to you, and then you can subscribe, and then you can post it on the thing. And Yogeshwar, very nice devotee. His son is actually a very nice person. He's actually a pilot for Southwest Airlines. My gosh, having to get on the plane every day and not talk about having your wife get nervous. He wrote a very nice article on how devotees should, you know, understanding that we're not this material body. This, you know, it's all part of a bigger plan. But how to be involved without losing our spiritual. And we want devotees won't lose their spiritual grounding by becoming aware. Because I used to call myself non-racist, but by studying all these things, I realized I had a lot of racial tendencies, and I'm making an effort to become anti-racist or against racism, and trying my best to start with myself and explain it to others, as I'm doing here, to be informed. You know, knowledge is power. Knowledge is definitely power. And Guru Bhatti just turned her microphone on by mistake.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. You're probably cooking, so or something.
I moved the computer and I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. It's still on. Okay. And so I feel like, you know, at a certain point, this could be like a very, very, because the people that are protesting aren't just the African American community. It's very diverse now. It's a very diverse. I mean, people are just definitely disgusted with what's going on. And the more information we have, and my vision is not vision. My prayer is that at a certain point, we'll be able to come to the point where true equality is there, Samadarshana, that each and every one of us is Mai Vangsoji, or each and every one of us equally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. We may have different dress. One type of dress may have different tendencies. And if we can just learn to accept and appreciate the different tendencies that are here from Parah, you got a double vision here. You got one with your picture and one with your action. From Parah, he's got this mystic city, you know, where he can expand himself. And so, I'm doing, you know, this type of preparation, not just because, I mean, you know, because I'm a human. I have compassion for fellow humans. You know, I'm a human that wears saffron, but also because I see the potential to, by having this knowledge, when the time comes where it's, what would you say, pertinent for me to be able to exchange information and assimilate and have an understanding of the situation. I'll never be able to walk on African American shoes. It's just impossible. I cannot do that because I'm not African American. You know, but I can empathize. I can try to do that. And at the same time, when they see that, remember, just, you know, then what'll happen is that when the potential is there for exchanging Krishna conscious ideas with them, they'll see me as understanding, made an effort to understand them. I'll give an example. Like last spring, I was in Gainesville on Easter, and on Easter Day, I went for a walk. I was living in it's called the Duck Pond. It's like all the old houses with all the old oak trees and stuff like that. And then you get a little further into it, and it kind of becomes what we call the hood and stuff like that. And it was like 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, and I just decided to go for a japa walk. and I saw these two African-American guys sitting by this car. And I said, hey, happy Easter to you guys. How you doing? And the one guy just said, you got respect, man. You got respect. I mean, he felt that I wasn't out. I wasn't judgmental. I wasn't, even before I gained all this knowledge, I had that presence. I had that presence that this person, with me just saying happy Easter to him, he said to me, you got respect. He could feel that, there was a little samadarshan on it. There was something in me that could see him as spirit soul. And that's all he said to me. You got respect, man. You got respect. And so when we respect people like this, they'll respect us. So going back to Bhagavan Narada, yes, we can take a complicated situation, in other words, and make it very, very simple. Make our preaching very, very simple. And we don't want to call it dumb it down. We want to call it simplify it, because things are very chaotic right now. I mean, we got so many things. We got a COVID virus. We got some racial we got some economic. The thing is just like, every day, and it just goes like this. And then you got India and China, throwing rocks at each other, and you got this place doing this, and kids are starving over in some place in Eastern Africa. I mean, it's just like the whole world is just like stressed to the max right now. And I see it as just part of Lord Chaitanya's movement. It's just like how the stage was set for Prabhupada to come to America in 1965. It was like prearranged for him to get the people that he got at the time he got them, and so many of them so quickly. And it's just like spread like a wildfire in a dry forest. And so in the same way, I'm just hopeful that this will manifest in such a way that those of us who are prepared and are willing and ready will be able to help people understand the real problem is spiritual.
Thank you for sharing. Are there any other devotees that would like to ask a question? Please do.
I see Nancy in here. I just noticed your name. The things keep changing so fast, it's hard to keep up with everybody. Is that Sarah from? Which Sarah is that?
She's from San Antonio, I think.
Oh, okay. I know that Sarah. Yeah, okay. If we have another one,
Yes, yes, sir. I'm from San Antonio. I'm the one that Kurt asked the question about emailing you.
Okay, yeah. You can email me, Sarah. Yeah, no problem.
I think you're thinking of Sarah from Occupy.
Yeah.
I wish it was Sarah from Occupy.
Yeah. Up in DC.
Sorry, I'm only me.
That's okay. We love all Sarahs.
Yeah.
And all non-Sarahs.
That's right. You can let me, right?
No. And Kristen's here, calling her out.
Well,
I just see your name there. Yeah. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Kristen. Nice. Well, I haven't seen her forever and ever.
It's a miracle.
There you go. Nice. Okay, everyone. I think what I'll do is, unless there's more questions. Oh, Priti.
Looks like Priti.
Look who showed up. I used to see you over down the street. You got your voice up. Let's turn your mic on. Your microphone is off. Turn your microphone on. Priti, turn your microphone on. Just click the little microphone on the bottom left-hand side. It'll say mute underneath it. She's talking. Priti, you're talking, but your microphone is, there you go. Okay, now you're talking. Now it's good. Oh, how come it's not working? Okay, Priti, what can we do? Modern technology. So nice to see you. Okay. And Asmita, she's a very special one too. She's really nice. Thank you for coming, Asmita.
Thank you, Raj, for the wonderful class.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing well.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, everyone. I guess Narada, have we?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us and speaking all of these really important points for us to reflect on.
Yeah, okay. There's Raghavendra coming on again. Okay. Thank you, Krishnan and Durga.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
We got the whole crew here. Even Jeannie. Jeannie's here. I live right next door to him. We never see each other because of COVID. No one can come out. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Haribo, Jai Shri. Haribo.